All right, Tinkercad designers, we are at the last tutorial that is required to demonstrate that you are proficient with Tinkercad. This one's called Scale, Copy, and Paste. And in this project, you will learn how to drag, scale, and copy paste shapes on the work plane. We're starting with a blank work plane for this project, so let's go ahead and work through these steps. Step 2, it says we need to add some shapes to the work plane, so it's going to walk us through the different steps here. I'm going to use my scroll wheel on the left-hand side, find the orange cylinder in the basic shape on the right side of the browser, and drag it into the work plane. So here's my orange cylinder. We're going to go ahead and bring that over, and we're going to drag it into the work plane and line that up there. Zoom in on that one. A couple of cool things while we're working with cylinders here first, just things that I've noticed. On the inspector window here, we have options here called sides, and watch what happens when I increase the number of sides to this object. Notice how much smoother those edges get on that object. That's kind of a neat trick. So I highly recommend, if you really want a circle, or if you want a circular cylinder, I should say, increase your number of sides. I'm going to go ahead and drag that so it's lined up with our object there. Other features here when you're working with the object, you can always change the color. Don't know why, but there you go. Color is going to be determined by the actual color of the filament that you print in. But color can be kind of neat when you're designing things and you want to show different types of surfaces. Bevel is another object here. What bevel does is it smooths out those edges. So you can see here and play around. Notice what happens when I bevel this one out. I don't want to bevel this one because I want it to look like the tutorial. And then segments does something similar here. It just kind of increases the smoothness of this object if we are dealing with a bevel. So you'll notice if I do segments and beveled, I get kind of a rounded object. If I lower those number of segments, then my bevel is more angular. Just some neat things that we can go ahead and play with. I want that to be a cylinder, so there we go. Okay. Next step. Okay, repeat the process. Let's try that one more time. Go ahead and add another cylinder to the work plane. So I'm going to go ahead and add another cylinder here. I'm going to pop it right there. Line that one up. This is where having a mouse is really, really important. Just because moving around with a touchpad doesn't work so well for me. I'm going to go ahead and smooth that one out again as well. And hey, let's make it the same color. Might as well. Okay, cool. So we did that. We've got it. Great work. We go to the next step. They keep these things nice and simple for us. Now here's the fun part. You're going to scale the orange cylinder you just dragged onto the work plane to a height of 15 millimeters. So we're going to take this one and we're going to go ahead and just click on it. And see this little white dot? This is where we can add our measurements. So our measurements are important when you're drafting and building things that are meant to be in existence in reality. You want things to come out the right size. So I can go ahead and click here and I can add 15 millimeters. Boom. And I say, okay, and there it is, 15 millimeters high. Now under Edit Grid, I'm going to show you this while we're here. I can actually have this be in inches if I'd like. I prefer the metric units. They're nice and easy to work with. I can also change things like my particular bed. So if you're working with a particular printer, like we've got a Type A machine in our makerspace, we'll put that one in. You can change the dimensions of the work plane to match the 3D printer that you're actually working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that, but I thought I would show you that real quick. So that's 15 millimeters, and let's go ahead and go to the next step. Okay. It says to grab another cylinder. Select the cylinder you want to copy. It doesn't matter which cylinder. Let's go ahead and grab that first one. So if I grab that first one and we hit Control C, just like when you're working in Microsoft Word or Google Docs, Control C is the copy command. And then we're going to click away, and then we're going to click Control V. And that gives us a copy or a duplicate of that particular object. Now, there's more than one way to do that also. I can click on this object and I can just press the duplicate button. And now it's duplicated it that way as well. So you can use Control C and Control V, or you can just use that duplicate button. And we're going to drag that to the area on the work plane that's specified. Shift, right click, moves me over. I get rid of that inspector window. And let's put this where it goes. Perfect. And then continue to the next step. And scale the last cylinder. So we're going to click and drag the white dot on top of the shape to make it 10 millimeters tall now. So here we go. We're going to click here, and we can make this 10 millimeters tall. Boom. So I've got a tall one, a 15 millimeter tall one, and then a 10 millimeter tall one. Notice too, vertical is not the only dimension. The Z axis is not the only dimension that I can scale. I can scale in the X axis, I can scale in the Y axis, and if I want to scale all of those things together, I can grab a corner, press Shift, and this will shrink the object proportionally. So the X, Y, and Z axis gets shrinked proportionally. If you ever do something in Tinkercad and you don't like that change, you can hit Control Z, and that'll take you right back to where you were. So there's a couple of useful tips for you while you complete that scale, copy, and paste tutorial. It says we did it. Let's go to the next step. Let's get those fireworks to show up. It says, congratulations, we did it. So if you are done with the scale, copy, and paste tutorial and you need to show evidence of your learning, this would be the point where you'd want to do a screenshot. All right, I hope you found that one helpful.